Hello students, now we will see the next concept, that is struts concept. See, the concept which I am going to explain here in this video will give the answer of these 4 questions. So I will read those questions first, and you can write the answer for this all the question, the concept which we are going to see here in this video. You can write the same similar answer for all these questions, like explain the strut architecture, or explain the MVC2 architecture, or struts MVC architecture. Next, explain struts component and struts configuration file. So we will cover all the answer of all these 4 question in only one concept. Okay, so what is strut? See, Strut is what a framework which is developed by the Apache Software Foundation under the project name Jakarta, and it helps to create web related application for Java environment with MVC2 architecture. Just remember, it supports a MVC2 architecture. In the unit number 5, starting in the AngularJS, we have seen a pure MVC architecture, so it supports MVC2 architecture. Okay, you might get question like MVC architecture, there you explain that MVC architecture, and for strut, that is MVC2 architecture, you will explain the concept which we'll see now. Okay, again it has some different features like configure MVC component means what? It supports MVC2 plus its components. Then POJO based actions means it is simple Java class. There is no need to extend a class or implement any interface that we did in a servlet. Okay, so it supports Ajax like PHP. Again, integration supports frameworks like Spring, Hibernate, Tiles in very easy with this Strut2 application. Again, as a result, it is possible to use various technologies like JSP, FreeMaker and Velocity in Strut2 application. Also, it supports tags like UI data tag, control tags, which will give different functionalities, various functionalities in a Struts2. Also, it supports theme and templates its default theme is XHTML. Okay, so CSS, XHTML, different themes are supported by this application of this Struts2, which will give you a very good look and feel to your web application. So you just read its brief explanation from your book. You might get question like explain the features of Struts2. Okay, so next, this is what a Struts2 architecture or MVC2 architecture. See, there is a slight difference between Struts2 and traditional MVC framework in the manner that the role of model is taken by the action instead of the controller. So you just watch that video first, clear with the basic MVC architecture first, then it will be easy to understand this MVC2 architecture. Okay, here you can see this is a model implemented with the actions. Next is a view implemented with combination of result types and the result. Then we have the controller here, which implemented with the Struts2 dispatcher filter and this interceptors. Okay, and here you can see this OGNL. So the functionality of this value stack or OGNL, that is object graph navigation language, is generally to provide a common thread linking, supporting the integration in between different application components. Okay, so now we will see one by one. So here you can see the basic what is the overview of this MVC, just to taking the request from the user, generating the action, and the result will get back to the user. Okay, so first is what this dispatcher filter. So here you can see I have enlisted this component also, so you need to explain these components for if you get the question like what are the explain the Struts2 components, then with the help of this diagram you can explain that components which I have enlisted here. Okay, so first one component is a dispatcher filter. See here, it is a filter class. Okay, and main work is what? It identifies the request from the user. First, identifies the request from the user. According to request, it calls the particular model, or we can say action gets generated according to the request by this dispatcher filter, and according to that action view will get generated, that is result is given back to the user. Okay, so this is what a dispatcher work. Again we will take just simple example. Here you can see there is a form which is taking a name or password from the user. Okay, and action is what? bean.jsp. so once you click on this form, the form will get submitted where? Onto the bean.jsp, or action get called, that is bean.jsp page. So this is what a controller, we can say dispatcher filter. So it will take this data, that is name and password from the user, and it will call the particular page action, that is bean.jsp. Okay, so I hope you are clear with this simple example. Again question arise, see in model we have multiple actions, multiple bean or JSP pages. Okay, so for which request which action to be called, this is the question, and how this controller will decide with the help of configuration files, that is struts.xml file. Again you might get question like explain the configuration file of the struts, you can explain here. Okay, so first is the struts.xml file. See here actually we decide using this file, we decide which for which request which action to be called. Okay, using which it means what? The request call particular action is generated here using the this strut.configuration file, and that mapping is done or returned here in this struts.xml file. Okay, now back to this. Next we have this interceptor. So it is what? A helper component of the controller. Okay, and it is responsible to apply cross-cutting concerns. What it means, see the logic that you want in every servlet or a JSP, whenever you will use that interceptor, that logic will get reusable. Again validation or file upload work is done by this interceptor. Once this done, next is what? Action. Action is what? A model. To model we call action in the MVC2 architecture. Okay, so again as I just told, action here is what? A bean classes. In struts2 functionality of model is represented by this action component. Okay, so the functionality or exam coding point of view, we can say action is represented by a bean class. So this is, here we have multiple bean classes, and according to that particular request, dispatcher will call a particular bean class. Okay, and once you're done with this, the user will get the view or result. Okay, so this is what last one is the result, we can say. In struct2 application, the functionality of view is managed by this result component. Okay, so this is what a result component, and the result component is responsible for presentation logic of the strut application. So as we can see, last we will get, the user will get the result, that is what a view. Okay, so next last component, so I hope you are clear with this, and last component is what? Deployment descriptor. So that is what a web.xml file. So web application complete deployment process is written here in this web.xml file. In MVC we create a web application, and complete logic process is written here in this web application web.xml file. And actually this dispatcher filter entry is done here in this file. Basically how many JSP or servlet are there in the application is written here in this web.xml file. Okay, so this is all about the components of the struts, MVC2 or strut architecture, and configuration files which are required to write any strut application. Okay, thank you so much.